What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have a NFL team tier list. Free agency is done. The NFL draft is done. So now it's time to put these teams in a tier list. See where they might end up, going into next season. We got every team. Here are the categories. We have the Super Bowl contenders. We have the playoff teams who probably will make it to the next weekend, the divisional round. We have the wild card teams. We have the playoff hopeful teams. We have the teams that are probably not there yet. And then we have the teams who should be tanking next year. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go into the description and submit your video ideas because I promise I will do them. And let's get right into it. First team we have is the Baltimore Ravens. And I feel like at this point you have to put them in Super Bowl contenders. Did they get better this offseason? I'm not so sure. I think they had a nice draft pick in the late first round of Nate Wiggins. But they lost their best linebacker, one of the best linebackers in the league, in Patrick Queen. So on that side of the ball could have got a little bit worse, but you have the MVP. It's time to start really winning around him. I know you guys had a 14-2 season, a 13-3 season a couple years ago with Lamar Jackson in his MVP season, but it's really time to start building towards a championship. And right now, obviously, I would not have him as my main contender, but it's time. So they're going to be in Super Bowl contenders. They weren't that far last year, but it's definitely time this year. Next up is the New York Giants. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, they're like a terrible roster. Not much more I could say about that. Losing Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller potentially retiring. It's just not looking good for them. They don't really have a quarterback either. I feel sorry for Malik Neighbors. That's really all I can say. Next up is the Falcons, and I'm going to throw them in the wild card. I know, terrible draft pick or choice in Michael Penix Jr. I wish you guys would have got better on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe an interior defender like Byron Murphy. Also an edge. Leatu Latu was there. Dallas Turner. I mean, all the edges available. They were all right there at pick 8. But they head with Michael Penix. Obviously, if you saw my draft grades, I did not love the pick at all. But it's just so hard to see this team not making, or at least winning, the NFC South. We know it's a weak division. They at least split with the Saints. They at least split with the Bucks, I think. And they should just sweep the Panthers this upcoming season. So with all that being said, I think they should be a wild card team. Hopefully around 10 wins, maybe 11 if they get lucky. I'm not exactly sure what their out of division schedule looks like. But this team's way too talented not to win the NFC South. And I think actually a close second is the New Orleans Saints. I know I am a fan, so that might seem a bit biased to have them over the Buccaneers, but that's just my opinion. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos. I'm going to throw them in not there yet. They have a rookie quarterback. Teams barely make the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. Obviously, last year was C.J. Stroud, but he was one of the greatest rookies, not even rookie quarterback, just rookies in general, of all time. I don't know if Bo Nix is going to be that. I'm going to assume he's not going to be that. And for that reason, with their roster too, I'm going to throw them in not there yet. I'd also love to see them sign maybe a veteran quarterback still. Ryan Tannehill's a guy who's still not picked up. I'd love to see him in a Broncos jersey next year, maybe start in the first couple games. But right now, this Broncos team is in not there yet because they really are just not there yet. Next up is the Buffalo Bills, and I know that their wide receiver room is bad right now. They did draft Keon Coleman, but other than that, it's definitely bare. They could make a trade still for Brandon Ayuk, maybe a T. Higgins, which would probably throw them up into the Super Bowl contenders. But when we look at this team's roster right now, I think they definitely lost a couple of pieces in free agency. Obviously, the defensive backs for sure. But also, Von Miller is aging. He's not that good anymore. James Cook is going to be a big part of this team's offense next year, assuming that they don't end up making a big trade. I'm going to throw them in playoff right now. I think they did get a little bit worse from last year. But they make a trade for an Ayuk or T. Higgins. This team can move straight back up into Super Bowl contenders. But right now, they're just going to be a playoff team. Next up is the Panthers. With an NFC or a weak NFC South, you could argue maybe a playoff hopeful team. But I'm still going to throw them in tanking. It's just not going to be a good team next year. I don't really see them winning more than 5 games. Not too much to say about the worst team in the league from last year going into this year. They're definitely going to be in tanking. Next up is the Bears. I'm going to have them not there yet. Just like the Broncos. Actually, you know what? I'll throw them playoff hopeful. Just like the Broncos, rookie quarterback, obviously Caleb Williams. Most likely, we all can agree that he's the better player than Bo Nix. But like we said again, he's a rookie quarterback. They don't usually do amazing in their first year. I hope that DJ Moore and Keenan Allen stay for at least 2 more years, maybe 1 more year for Keenan Allen. I'm kind of scared that Keenan Allen will leave after next year. But I think they should buy into this because I think the Bears have a bright future. They're going to try to make a run this year. I'm assuming they're going to end up maybe like 8-9, maybe 9-8, maybe get the last wild card spot. Who knows? But I'd say this team's definitely hoping to make the playoffs next year. No doubt about that. Next up is the Bengals. I think I'll throw them in wild card. Definitely tough for them. Obviously a bad season last year due to their quarterback getting hurt. Honestly, it wasn't a terrible season, but overall we could all agree that did not go the way they wanted. Quarterback was basically hurt the whole season. It was just a throwaway season. If they lose T. Higgins, could they be in playoff hopeful? I mean, I'm not sure because this team was just in the Super Bowl a couple years ago with basically the same roster. Trey Hendrickson might retire, which is pretty crazy, but I'm going to keep them in wild card for right now. I don't even know if you can argue them being higher than wild card. Maybe you can, but they'll be a wild card team for me right now. Next up is the Browns. I just don't think they're there yet. Deshaun Watson, if he's going to go into that or go into next season as their starting quarterback, they're not going to make the playoffs, especially in the division they're in. I think the Steelers are better than them right now. I think the Ravens are obviously better than them right now. The Bengals are better than them right now. I can realistically see them lasting their division, end up like maybe a 7-10 record, and if that's the case, they're blowing it up. Deshaun Watson will not be the quarterback next year if they do not make the playoffs. That's just simple. So they're definitely not there yet, in my opinion. They got some talent. Nick Chubb, I don't even know. Is he going to be back for the beginning of the season? Probably not. You guys saw the injury. So they're just not there yet. I just don't really see a scenario where this team makes the playoffs. Next up is the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they did not improve a lot during this offseason. Excuse me. I think I'll throw them in wild card for right now. Another team that it's definitely interesting because, like I said before, they didn't improve too much but I still believe that they're going to end up being a playoff team. I'm going to throw them in playoffs right now. Sorry if I'm sweating, it's hot in here. But I'm going to throw them in playoffs right now. It'll be tough because in the divisional round, there are 4 teams left in your respective conference. Where am I going to put the Packers? Where am I going to put the Lions? Obviously, you have the 49ers, the Eagles. There are a lot of good teams, so honestly, I might bump them down. I'll keep them here for right now, though. Next up is the Lions. Playoff. Simple. They had a good offseason, in my opinion. Packers. I'll put them in wild card. I think they're definitely going to... I mean, I can't say definitely. It's always a question. But I think they should make the playoffs. Can they get to the second weekend, the divisional rounds? We'll see. But I'll keep them in playoffs wild card for right now. They should be good. Jordan Love is going on the up in his trajectory. I trust them. They should be good. Next up is the Houston Texans. With the additions of Danielle Hunter, Stephon Diggs, they got the running back, Joe Mixon. 3 Pro Bowl caliber players. I think this team has a chance at the Super Bowl next year. CJ Stroud just has to play at least close to what he did last year because he had an amazing rookie season. I'm still worried that he might have a, sophomore slump. But I trust him. I trust him to come back next season, have another good season, probably going to be a Pro Bowler. Maybe won't have to be a Pro Bowler if they make the Super Bowl. But I definitely do trust this Texans team. It'll be very fun to watch, and I think they have a real shot at the Super Bowl this year. Next up is the Colts. Probably not there yet. Your rookie quarterback last year only played, 3-4 games. The talent around in that roster is just not amazing. Don't really see them making the playoffs. Next up is the Jaguars. I'll put them in playoff hopeful. I'm not sold on this team at all. They drafted Brian Thomas Jr. to probably be their wide receiver 1. I know you got Christian Kirk as well, but we know Brian Thomas Jr. is definitely more of the prototype wide receiver 1. So, wide receivers are not strong. The defense, not entirely strong. Trevor Lawrence was iffy at best last year. There's just not a lot to stand on for this Jaguars team. I mean, a couple years ago, we saw them as one of the, or maybe even last year, we saw them as the team that was going up and up. The young team that could possibly make a Super Bowl run in years to come. Trevor Lawrence was looking like a potential MVP candidate. But not anymore. This team's just not great anymore. Lost a lot of weapons. Obviously, Calvin Ridley wasn't great for them last year, but that's still going to be a big loss. If we're being realistic, I'm not sure if this team can make a playoff push this year. Next up is the Chiefs. Pretty simple. Did lose L'Jarius Sneed, but other than that, this team is stacked. Cardinals are next. I think I'll throw them in playoff hopeful. This roster is not as bad as people make it out to be. I know obviously they do have some holes, but just a couple years ago, they're one of the best. They're one of the best teams in the league. Lost some players since then, but with Kyler Murray, with Marvin Harrison Jr., I think this team should try to make a playoff push. The division, I mean, you do have the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers, so it's not the easiest. But I could see them ending up being the second best team in that division. You know, maybe at a 9-8 record, sliding to that last wild card spot. It'll be close, but I have them as a playoff hopeful team. Next up is the Chargers. I'm going to put them in probably that as well. Yeah, it's going to be tough because who is Justin Herbert throwing the ball to? We still do not know. Next up is the Rams. Rams are I think I'll put them in wild card for right now. I could end up moving them down, but they're better than the I think they're better than the Cardinals, so I'll put them in a tier ahead. Right now, obviously in real life, there's 14 playoff teams. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 10, so only 4 more spots. Maybe I'll move some guys down. Next up is the Raiders. Quarterback 1 this year, Gardner Minshew. I'm sure Devontae Adams loves that. I think I'll just put them in not there yet. Just really not a situation where they end up making the playoffs. Minshew's better than what Aiden O'Connell was last season. I'll tell you that. So maybe they can have a better record. But at the end of the day, yes, they could probably end up being second in the AFC West. But I don't know if they have a good enough record to make the playoffs without winning the division. And they're not going to because the Chiefs exist. Next up is the Dolphins. Pretty simple. I think I'll just throw them in wild card. Could they make maybe a deeper run, maybe get into the second weekend divisional? Sure, maybe. We'll see. But I just don't see it. I don't think their head coach is going to be the answer long term. That's just my opinion. But they're going to probably stick with him this year, most likely next year. Then they'll see, in my opinion. But I don't know if he's the answer. And I guess I'll throw them in the wild card tier for right now. I'm going to have to put 8 teams in the second tier, so I'm going to have to start filtering that out. Actually, no, I'm going to have to put... We'll see how many Super Bowl contenders I have, and after that, we'll see how many playoff teams I have left. Next up is the Vikings. Pretty simple. Their quarterback 1 is going to be either J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold. I think that should probably say all that needs to be said. Yeah, they're just not there yet at all. Patriots, one of, if not the worst team in the league. I think that's pretty simple. New Orleans Saints, they have to be playoff hopeful with their quarterback. I mean, Derek Carr, what is he, 32, 33 years old? At some point, they're going to have to try to make the playoffs. They had one of the best drafts, in my opinion, in the league. They added Spencer Rattler, who could potentially be their franchise quarterback. I love that a lot as a Saints fan. They upgraded at tackle at pick 14 in Talisi Fuanga. Who else did they get? Second round. I don't exactly remember where they got in the second rounds. Kool-Aid McKinstry, of course. One of the best corners in this draft. At his best, I believe he is the best corner in this draft, so I think that was pretty much a steal. And overall, I think the Saints are looking pretty good for next season. I'm not saying it, but we got a Spencer Rattler as our backup quarterback for the future. If Derek Carr slips up, let's go throw Spencer in there and see what he can do. But they're playoff hopeful. I can't say with a straight face that they're going to be a wild card team because I'm not delusional. Next up is the New York Jets. I mean, they better make the wild card, or else Aaron Rodgers is retiring. We know if this Jets team does not make the playoffs this year, Rodgers is done. That's pretty simple. And after that, you traded Zach Wilson. They're going to have to draft a quarterback or sign a quarterback. And we'll see how that goes for them. Wild card team. I mean, maybe they make a run to the second weekend. But we haven't even seen this team really play. We've seen this Texans team make the divisional round. We've seen this Ravens team with their MVP quarterback make the divisional round. Chiefs, doesn't have to be said. Bills, multiple time, made it to the AFC Championship. Cowboys, I guess you could probably make that argument that they never get it done. But they have a stacked roster every year. Lions, we saw them get it done last season. Bengals, we saw it happen. They made it to the Super Bowl just a couple years ago. Falcons are definitely up in the air, just like the Jets. You know, older quarterback, really his first time integrated into the system. You know, Aaron Rodgers obviously last year got hurt. Packers, we saw them do it last year. Rams, we saw them win the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and we saw them do them last year. The Jets, though, we haven't. So that's up for debate. I think right now I'm going to have them as a wild card team, but that could definitely be up for change. Next up is the Eagles. I mean, they better get into the second weekend or else they're probably going to see some changes in that coaching staff. Sirianni will most likely be gone if they lose in the wild card. And that's just as simply as I could put it. If they don't get into the divisional round, they're going to see a lot of changes. Maybe not even to the coaching staff. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, I know they just signed extensions, but you never know next season what could happen. Next up is the Steelers. I think I'll throw them into wild card. I mean, that feels so wrong. Just put them in a whole tier above, the Bears, the Jags, the Cardinals, the Chargers, and the Saints. But I kind of like what they have going on. And we know Mike Tomlin doesn't really lose. I mean, not enough. So I'm going to trust them to get into the wild card. We know they're going to have a 10-7 record or something like that. But if Russell Wilson can play like he did last year, this team will have a shot. Next up is the Seahawks. Simple. Pretty simple, I think. I don't think this team's going to be a playoff team, but they're going to try to make it for sure. 49ers, you have to put them there. I mean, is that really even a debate? I think you have to put them there for sure. Next up is the Buccaneers. Same tier as the Saints. I think that's also pretty simple. Not too much to explain there. Titans, just definitely not there. I mean, honestly, who did they sign this offseason? They signed Calvin Ridley. They drafted J.C. Latham. I'm just not, I don't know. Maybe I'll throw them in not there yet, but first of all, the Commanders are definitely there and tanking. But, I mean, I could move the Cardinals down probably as well. I think this is going to be the last list. Yeah, so I probably should change some stuff over. Super Bowl contenders, we have 3 from the AFC, 1 from the NFC, so that's definitely interesting. So in the NFC, there's supposed to be 8 teams, there's supposed to be 4 teams in the Super Bowl contenders plus the playoff because we have the divisional round. So I guess that's just going to be, the Cowboys, Lions, Eagles, and 49ers. And then I guess, so that would be what? That'd be 4. Then the last 3 I have in the NFC are the Falcons, the Packers, and the Rams. So I guess those are my playoff teams for next year. For the AFC, the 4 teams advancing past the wild card are going to be the Texans, the Baltimore Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills. And then the last 3 wild card teams are the Bengals. Going to have the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Steelers. So that's actually 4. So I guess I'll move the Steelers down for right now. But you guys get the point. It's just a tier list. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And see you next time. Peace.